Hello guys, now we are on the 8th game in the event Sokolov's masterpieces, and here Sokolov's playing black and Nikolic is playing white. It is played in the Yugoslav Team Cup Championship in 1991. It's a double fianchetto defense by black, and now the game goes d4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, g3 and b6. uh, so, so here actually Sokolov's words were he wanted to avoid the well-trodden theoretical paths of the fianchetto variations of the King's Indian and Grunfeld, in which his opponent is an expert. Therefore, he came up with this rather unusual idea. However, with accurate play, white should get a clear advantage. In other words, one cannot try this thing more than once. So then c4, bishop b7, bishop g2, bishop g7, castle shot, and then castle shot. Now queen to c2. White naturally realized that in the event of knight c3, black would reply with knight e4, reaching a Queen's Indian type of position, but with the bishop on g7 rather than e7. With this in mind, white prepares the development of his b1 knight. However, this is a little too slow and black seizes the chance to create counterplay. White ought to have to compare this position with Queen's Indian and consider the pluses and minuses for both sides. Black's bishop on g7 could well turn out to be more active than it would be on e7. But the problem for black is that the pawn still being on e7 allows white to cut off the b7 bishop by playing d5. And then now c5, d5 and b5. Now black gets a satisfactory version of the Benko gambit. Now knight c3. Here if at all cb5, bishop takes d5 and queen takes c5, and then d6 gives black reasonable play for the pawn. However, white should have gone for this. But he went knight to c3, now b4, now knight d1, d6, now e4, knight bd7 and knight to e3, a5, a4. White must prevent further expansion by black on the queen side, even though black will later have possibilities of sacrificing on a4. Now queen to c7, bishop to d2, rook a e8, and then rook a e1, e6, knight to h4, and then white's idea is to prevent e takes d5, and then knight e4. So now knight to b6, b3, ed5, rook e7. Black has the advantage in view of his better pawn structure and possibility of sacrificing on a4 after the bishop goes to c8 and to d7, and if need to bringing the queen to e8, creating two passed pawns. White must now exchange both pairs of rooks in order to ease the pressure along the e file and to prevent knight e4. Now knight to d1, rook f e8, rook takes c7, rook takes e7, now rook e1, now bishop to c8, now rook takes e7. Here h3 was probably better, and then now queen takes e7, king to f1, bishop to d7. Black methodically prepares a possible sacrifice on a4. Now bishop to c1, and black seems to win by force after this, but white's position was rather difficult in any case, thanks to the poor coordination of his pieces. Perhaps most logical move here was h3. Now knight to g4, and then h3. Now knight to e5. Here 26. So after knight to e5, the threat is that after knight e takes c4 and b takes e4, that is bishop takes a4. So white goes knight b2. So, but after queen f6, suddenly the h4 knight finds itself in trouble due to the threat of g5. Rescuing the knight will cost white the pawn on h3. So after bishop to d and queen to d2, h6, queen f4, g5, queen takes f6, bishop takes f6, knight f3, knight takes f3, bishop takes f3, bishop takes h3. Besides being a pawn down, white's queenside pawns can be easily targeted by black's light squared bishop. Therefore, the ending is easily winning for black. Now king e1, bishop f5, g4, bishop g6, bishop e2, bishop to c3, check, and king d1, knight d7, and knight to d3, knight e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5, bishop to e3, bishop to f4, and here white resigns, and the game is winning for black. The ending is winning for black. So I hope you would have enjoyed the game, guys. So I'll be meeting you in the next game. Thank you all.